let's turn now to exploring the Shema, discussions on the issues of Trinity. And we'll take just the last, I'm going to only spend very short time here. I'm going to spend maybe 10 minutes, maybe 15 max on this. I've got a lot of tabs still opened up, and basically we're finalizing our look on the Holy Spirit. We were working our way through. Let me drop down to the very bottom of the page and see this little table that we've been working from. We've got a chart put together by Carm here, and we were working our way 2 weeks ago before we took a break for Hanukkah. We're working our way through this column of this table on the Holy Spirit, using Acts chapter 5 verse 3 to 4, where Peter calls the Holy Spirit God there. The Holy Spirit is called God by Peter because he says if you're lied to the Holy Spirit, then you've lied to God. But we also notice as we read further down to that passage that Peter also says that why are you continuing to challenge the Spirit of God? So it can be really rightly argued that the Holy Spirit is the Spirit of God. They are the one and the same being. But what we're trying to ascertain is whether or not they're different persons, the Holy Spirit being a different person than the Spirit of God, who himself is also a spirit. Or is it just God's very Spirit? And so that's what we've been looking at. All right, what I've kind of challenged us with is the idea that if you take the position that the Spirit of God and passages that mention the Holy Spirit is simply a reference to God's very own Spirit itself, then you're going to likely hold to a view that's more Unitarian in view. Meaning you're not going to describe God in terms of personhood. You're likely going to take a position that there's only one God, one being known as God, and passages that talk about the Holy Spirit are simply referencing God's very Spirit. Thus, it's not a person that's being described, it's an attribute or thing of God that's really being described. And thus, it's a part of God that's inseparable from him. Or maybe you think it is separable from him, but nevertheless, it's still his own Spirit. It's not a separate person. But those of us who are Orthodox Trinitarians hold the idea that the Spirit of God is a separate person that's being described in those passages. The challenge, however, is that as we look at certain passages, what we find is that, number one, we find usages of personal pronouns. Yeshua himself describes the Holy Spirit using personal pronouns like him. And we can see this on my screen now in John 14:17. The Spirit of truth whom the world is not able to receive because it does not see him. And the Greek word is auta. We find that if we look up these particular Greek terms, sometimes they can be translated as it, and sometimes they can be translated using masculine. But often, it's simply a feature of Greek grammar because Greek has gender when it comes to grammar. So it's got a grammatical gender to it. Certain words are formed in masculine, some are formed in feminine, and some are neuter. We don't have this I don't think this is in English. I'm pretty sure it isn't. But it's in many other languages. Hebrew has it as well. Greek has it, I think Latin has it, and Spanish I think has it, French I think has it, but English doesn't. So when we read through our English Bibles, for us to read the word him, like we see in English here, we have to remind ourselves that grammatically in the Greek, it could be either maybe a neuter, or it could be something else. Like for instance, this is actually the accusative neuter, third person singular, this particular passage in John 14:17. So if your translation says it does not receive it, don't be put off too much. They're simply translating this Greek word auta as the neuter, because it is a neuter. But just like John, the same passage in the Jehovah's Witnesses, right here, it says the world cannot receive because it neither sees it nor knows it, right? And they're speaking of the Spirit. But when we come to other passages like John 15:26, Yeshua talks about the helper, the parakletos, which we are familiar with from sermons. Our pastor will say the paraclete. And this phrase parakletos is a nominative masculine singular Greek word. So the Greek grammar is in the masculine. So that when Yeshua talks about him, the ekenos down here, the personal pronoun or the demonstrative pronoun, the English translators are right to use the word he because it's the nominative masculine singular. And we can see this by the case ending there at the very end, the os, ekenos, which means, grammatically speaking, it's accurate to use the masculine. He will bear witness concerning me. Even the Jehovah's Witnesses, John 15:26, when I pull up their version of the Bible, it says, when the Helper comes that I will send you from the Father, the Spirit of truth, which comes from the Father, that one will bear witness about me. They don't say it, but they say that one. In this case, they recognize that ekenos is a masculine gender, which is also masculine, but because it's a demonstrative pronoun and not a personal pronoun, or possessive pronoun, like his or her. He and she, personal pronoun, his or hers, possessive pronoun, and then demonstrative is this or that. Because it's a demonstrative pronoun, then they opt for that. However, when you get to John 16:17, Yeshua speaking again says, I tell you the truth, it's profitable to you that I go away. I'm paraphrasing. For if I don't go away, the helper, right, the parakletos again, he cannot come to you. However, if I go, I will send him to you. And when we look at the Greek, it's an accusative masculine. Right? So let's see what the Jehovah's Witnesses have to say this time. Again, this personal possessive pronoun in the Greek here, auton, is pointing back to, case-wise, to the same parakletos, same gender. They're both masculine. So what do the Jehovah's Witnesses have to say about John 16:17? Let's take a look. Nevertheless, I'm telling you the truth. It is for your benefit that I'm going away. For if I do not go away, the Helper will not come to you. But if I do go, I will send him. Whoa! Yeah, this time even the Jehovah's Witnesses have to concede. There's no way for them to wiggle out of a neuter gendered pronoun, and there's no way for them to wiggle out of a demonstrative pronoun. They're left with the truth of the fact that this time, auton in the Greek is a personal possessive pronoun, and it's in the accusative masculine third person singular. The key point is it's masculine, and it's referring back to the him, of course, referring back to the helper, the parakletos, which is definitely a noun or nominative in the masculine singular. So it makes sense for Yeshua to say him rather than say it, and since it's not a demonstrative pronoun, he can't say that. Right? So the Jehovah's Witnesses are forced in their translation to refer to, probably uncomfortably, but as I'm kind of picking on them a little bit here, but they're forced to suddenly call the Holy Spirit a him. Yeah. So this is one case where their translation is going to agree with most English translations as well. They call the Spirit a him in their translation. And then we continue down this the same line of logic. We look at John 16:13. When, however, he shall come, the Spirit of truth, he will guide you into all truth, for he will not speak for himself, but whatever he hears, he will speak, and the things coming he will declare to you. And so your most English translations are going to say he. We got ekenos, which is a demonstrative pronoun again. The Spirit of truth is a neuter singular, so we could say it there if we want to. It will guide you into all truth. This is in fact, the he's here are supplied by the translator. Really, the pronoun shows up very early, the ekenos right there. He, the Spirit of truth. But after that, the verbs, the lese and the ha degase and all that, there's really no pronoun attached to it. Likewise down here, akuse, he may hear, it's really just a verb. There's no, here again, lese, he will speak. You can see it there. It says he will speak, but there's no pronoun attached to it. He will declare, anangele, all those things. Really, the only, the pronoun in reference to the Spirit is way up here in ekenos, which is a demonstrative. So what do you think the Jehovah's Witnesses, let's see if you guys have been following along. What do you think they're going to say? Of course they're going to say that, right? Let's see what they say. John 16:13. Let's pull it up. However, when that one comes, yep, you guessed it. Why do they say that one? Why do they say use a demonstrative pronoun? Because, of course, in the Greek, it's a demonstrative pronoun, and it's masculine. So your Orthodox evangelicals are going to prefer to say he, but the Unitarian type of what do we say uh, 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 what about the whole Jehovah's Witnesses? There's an A word that's lost in my head right now. Arian, that's the word I was looking for. The Arianistic theology that they hold to, which discounts Yeshua being true God and the Holy Spirit being a true person of God as well, is going to put him back into some sort of impersonal force type aspect by calling him a that. However, when that one comes, but I want you to understand that again from a Greek perspective. To say that is simply a reference to the demonstrative pronoun that the Greek is cast into. So I don't come down too hard on their translation, but I do come down pretty hard on their theology. But from the translation, you would not be able to catch that. However, this is one of those verses where it's a little bit ambiguous because they say, when that one comes, the Spirit of truth, he will guide you into all truth. For he will not speak of his own initiative, but what he hears, he will speak, and he will declare to you the things to come. And now you're scratching your head going, what? If it's an impersonal force, then why are you giving it personal pronouns? Especially in this case, where, as I mentioned, the Greek, there's no pronoun here. It's a verb in the future indicative active third person singular. But there's not really a pronoun attached to it unless it's referring back to this particular pronoun, which it likely is in case. But the point I'm trying to make is that there's no gender attached to it as far as I can tell. Future indicative active third person, but it doesn't say masculine or feminine. We could try and guess from the case ending there. But the point I'm trying to make is it's funny that the Jehovah's Witnesses actually do that with the translation. So those are some of the things that are going to draw a lot of attention when we're looking at these passages. We'll continue to look at this Holy Spirit aspect more as we go, but next week we're going to continue working our way down through the table. I'm just telling you where we're going. Next week we'll swing all the way back over again to the beginning, to this particular table right here, this part of the table, this I keep forgetting this is a row, this row header. I need to study my Excel terminology more a little bit more. So we got Father referred to or called Creator in Isaiah 64:8. We'll look at that next week. We'll move into the Son being referenced as Creator in John and in Colossians. And then we'll finally move to the Holy Spirit being given this title of Creator in the book of Job. And so that's where we're going to go next week. We'll start with Creator and then work our way through the passages and go that way. Okay? So that'll do it for our study on exploring the Shema discussions on the issues of Trinity.